everyone, and welcome back. My name is Heather Stamper, and I'm taking a little break from the writing goodies today to talk about something very important. In case you haven't heard already, I am also a teacher as well as a writer. I teach second grade. And so today's topic of conversation is there's been so much in the past 2 years that has happened that from a teacher's perspective, there's some little bits of advice, especially for parents who have kept their students out of school this last year because of COVID-19. And now they're going back to school for the first time in a year and a half, 2 years. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, your kids probably forgot some basic things, okay? And it's no one's fault. It's just is what it is. So I'm going to go through a couple of things. Take advice as you will, or you can say, nah, I'm good. My kids are perfectly fine. So the first thing is back to school supplies, okay? Yeah, your child's school will have a list of the things, notebooks, pencils, crayons, whatever. A couple things about back to school supplies. Don't go overly fancy. I mean, it's going to be really tempting, especially because they got all those cute little eraser things, and those things don't last 5 minutes in a classroom. The crayon pack with the 64 crayons that can barely fit inside the desk. Yeah, the 32 is fine. It really is. But you do you. The one thing I would suggest, if you are able to, is consider picking up an extra box or of crayons, or an extra thing of tissues, or an extra bottle of hand sanitizer, or whatever is on the list, notebooks, whatnot, a pair of scissors, because there's always that kid that forgets, or maybe their family can't afford to get all the supplies at one time. And while we teachers try to anticipate for that, it's always nice when somebody else, shows a little empathy and thinks of those things too. So if you're able to, that would be amazing. All right. What a nice thing to do. You're teaching your child, to think about others, and you are helping them be prepared for school. It's a win-win. Again, only if you're able to. If you can't, no judgments. We understand. Totally. Things to practice with your student. Now, like I said, your child, especially if they've been quarantined for the last year and a half, 2 years, will have forgotten certain things. And you're going to look at this list and you're going to be like, this is pretty basic human common sense here. Yeah, but if you've been isolated for that long, some of those common sense things are going to escape, and especially if it's a little kid. So things to practice. Depending on your school district, mask wearing. Okay. Some school districts may say, if your child's under a certain age, we want them to wear a mask. If your child hasn't been vaccinated, they need to wear a mask, or, just give a blanket. Everybody's got to wear a mask, or nobody's wearing a mask. Depending on what your school district wants or what their guidelines are. If they have to wear a mask, one, have them practice wearing the mask, okay? It's over the nose, under the chin, have them practice, endurance. Even if your child's been back in school, they've been off all summer. Mask mandates have relaxed. They may not have when your kids go back to school, though. So get them back into the habit of putting the mask on the face. We do try to give mask breaks so that, their little faces can breathe. We're not total monsters yet. We saved that for the homework. I'm just kidding. Anyway, practice that with your student. And even if you don't agree with whatever the school guideline is, please, parents, set a good example. We, the teachers, we don't set the rules for this stuff. We get this coming from higher up. All right. If you're not a fan of the mask, chances are your child's teacher's probably not a fan either, but they have to put on the happy face and act like everything's fine. Okay. So if you're grousing about it, your kid's going to grouse about it. It's going to make teachers' lives harder to try and teach them the things that they need to do. So can we work on this together? That would be great. Another thing to practice, eating in public. They may have relaxed their table manners a little bit when they're eating in the cafeteria. And in some cases, they may have to be eating at their desk. It depends on the school. Okay. So having them practice, eating with their mouth closed, If you're above the age of kindergarten, please work with your child on that, because nobody wants to see that. How to use a napkin, how to open up their juice box if they're doing a juice box, or a milk carton, okay? Because I'll tell you right now, God bless those cafeteria aides. There's not enough of them to go around to do 150 little milk openings or juice pouches or little baggie opening things. Practice with your child on that. If they still struggle, hey, it's okay, but please practice. It would go a long way in help making the lunchtime smoother. How to listen. Now, when everybody was on Zoom or Google Classroom or whatever virtual format they were on, if your child had a hard time staying still, they could always have their mic turned off. They could have their camera off and wiggle about, or hum. I had a lot of kids hum and sing to themselves when they came back to school. Having that little chat with your child, and it'll take multiple conversations, trust me. It's like, hey, when you're in this setting, you got to put the volume on mute or low enough that it's not going to distract others, okay? It's going to help out a lot. It's like we need to be on the same page with this one here, guys. How to stay on task. Now, attention spans get shorter and shorter every year. Here's my basic rule of thumb when it comes to your child being able to focus on a thing. If it's a thing that they like to do, whether it's video games, reading, coloring, whatever, they should be able to focus on that thing. Take whatever their age is. If they're a 5-year-old, can they focus on that one thing for 5 minutes? On the thing that they like, okay? If it's something that is more challenging for them to do, let's say you have a 10-year-old and they hate writing, perish the thought. Can they write without stopping for 5 minutes? So if it's a task that they don't like to do, can they do it for half of the amount of their age? Put that in minutes. Okay. If it's a thing that they like to do, can they do it for the amount of minutes for however old they are? This is a good way to gauge developmentally attention span. Now, I know what you're saying, but my kid has ADHD. My kid has this. My kid has that. My kid has processing things. Okay. Understood. We've all experienced it. It's still things that you can practice on. It's building that muscle memory, okay? Building that brain. Maybe your kid is 7 and cannot sit still for 3 minutes. That's something to practice on. Make a game out of it. Set a little stopwatch. Say, hey, I need you to work on your homework without stopping for 3 minutes. Set the kitchen timer, whatever. Do they do it for 3 minutes? Even if the work isn't perfect, don't worry about that. You can go over that later. Have them get up, get a drink of water, move around a little bit, and then try for 3.5 minutes and gradually increase. We do this in school all the time. By working on that, building that stamina, building that resilience. That's going to be really important, okay? Another thing that students tend to forget, especially after being isolated, is how to speak to others in a courteous way. The please and thank you. Paying attention to the speaker. Whether or not your kid's very good with the eye contact, as long as they're looking in the general direction of the speaker, that would be good. Sitting up, not laying down on the desk like this, half asleep. That would be really, really helpful. And I know they've been having tons of fun over this summer break, and the home rules about bedtimes and whatnots, tend to get a little slack because you don't have to be anywhere the next day. Live it up. If you could do us all a favor, it would be really great if you start introducing a more regulated bedtime and wake up routine every day, whether it's you at home or if you're a night worker, whoever's watching them during the night, that they're getting that consistent sleep and wake up, the bedtime routine, especially for the little guys. It's really important. It's going to make them going to school. They'll be, happier going to school. They'll be more ready to learn than if they stayed up half the night playing video games and they're like literal walking zombies. That doesn't help us as teachers. They're not going to be able to focus because they're going to be tired. So those are some basic things that is going to help your child a long way when they go back to school, okay? Whether they have been in school and just have been off for the summer, or they've been out of school for a while. We'll work on the reading and the writing and the math stuff they may have deficits with, and I'll have other videos about advice about that. All right, so that was a lot of rant there, but I hope some of those pieces of advice are going to be helpful. What I would like to do with this channel is to have my writing and do some things with reading and do some things with school stuff, since that's all part of my wheelhouse here. Why not use it all? Okay, let's mix it up a little bit. All right, so I hope this was helpful. I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.